afternoon or evening. Welcome to the Select Board meeting of August 23rd. We'll call the meeting to order at 6:01. This meeting is being broadcast live on BNC TV and live streamed on YouTube. To find BNC TV on YouTube, go to youtube.com and search for Bernardston-Northfield Community Television. This meeting will be available for later viewing by following the link at townofbernardston.org. First order of business is our warrants. I'll entertain a motion for the payroll warrant in the amount of $66,421.82.
So moved.
Second?
Any questions? Any comments? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Entertain a motion for the vendor warrant in the amount of $124,570.34.
So moved.
Second?
Any comments? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
I entertain a motion for the regular meeting minutes of August 9th, 2023.
So moved.
Second?
Is there any additions, corrections, or deletions? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Counter announcements. Board of Assessors, Thursday, August 24th, 2023 at 3:15 p.m. at the Assessor's Office in the Town Hall. Again, I'll announce that the Farmers Market is Saturdays through October 7th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the United Church parking lot. I will announce to the general public that if, as you're aware, that we've had a recent uptick in the amount of break-ins and robberies in the town of Bernardston. And I'm happy to say that our police department has been on top of it. They have arrested a suspect, and since that arrest, things have been pretty quiet. So hopefully that was the person. And again, thank you for the police department and for keeping us updated on what's going on. The next appointment is the planning board has asked to meet us tonight, so I'll have the planning board come up.
As you know, Senator Comerford and State Representative Natalie Blaze came and met with Planning Board to discuss some of our wants and needs. And it was a great discussion. They understand how the town is suffering financially and yet we want to see some economic development. So we're here to talk to you about asking them for a few things, because they said get a to-do list or a list, a priority list, and we want to get your approval on the things that we're looking at wanting to do. Our discussion, our main thing is to ask them for an earmark to do have an outside company, individual, whatever, to come in and do an economic development plan for the town. Determine where else we can do more development, because we are kind of stretched now on not having a lot left. We have just the lot up there by Kringle, on Kringle Way, the two lots, the old barber shop and then the other lot that sits up there. The rest of the expedited permitting district is all developed. There is some industrial land still that Charlie Dean owns that is still sitting dormant at this point too, but we don't know what they could come up with. There's new ideas out there, what can be done, and we've seen other towns who have been able to transform their towns, their small towns even, and make them a destination. On the open space and recreation plan survey that was done, one of the main points that came out of that was people really want more trails, hiking trails, more outdoor activities to do. So we would like to see if we can get more digital maps included in that economic plan. We don't know if they'll, we realize that the company is going to determine, okay, what's going to be the economic driving force here? Is it going to be recreation? What is it going to be? So that's why we kind of need a plan, so we know what direction to go in a little more. Some of our ideas is creating that pocket park down there in that lot that the town owns by the railroad bridge. And because we already own the land, it would be nice to have a little historical spot there, a little park people could walk to, ride their bikes to, stop there, enjoy the view of the river, and get a little history lesson on the bridge, and even the grist mill and the old dam that was there, have some old pictures displayed there. So there's a lot we could do economic-wise, I feel.
And excuse me one second, Chris, Ron has some history on that bridge, right?
Yes, he does.
Which is very interesting.
Yep.
Thank you.
So,
If you're interested, I'll tell you about the bridge, but otherwise, go ahead.
and then we also were kind of questioning, we realized in the past it's been mentioned to do any kind of economic development in the center village would probably need sewer system. So maybe a new study on that might be a feasible thing to ask for as well. And then of course, housing is another big issue. That's not on your list there, but we have been trying to work on housing. We included more accessory dwellings in their zoning bylaws. Actually, over the past 4 or 5 years, we've done a lot of updating to our zoning bylaws based on what the master plan was suggesting that we needed to do. So I think we're trying to work toward increasing a little more housing. So that's, I don't know how you feel. Is 200,000 too much? Is it not enough to ask for? What's your feelings?
I think it's always worth asking for a couple hundred, and they'll probably knock it down to 100. If we
Well,
ask
and
for 100,
that's-
they're going to knock it to 50.
Or do we ask for
Exactly.
300,000 and hope we get 150? So,
I mean, I know her typical earmarks that have been coming out, at least from the Senate, and Joe is in the $100,000 range
Yeah.
typically. Not that mean there hasn't been different ones, but
right. And these are just ideas of what should maybe be included in an economic development plan. I'm not saying that it's something that we're gonna
Yeah, it
achieve,
might
and
give us-
maybe there might be some other ways of achieving some of those goals and not use the earmark, but,
and it might give us some guidance of a professional looking at what's left in town, like you say, and saying this is things you could do with what you currently have for infrastructure.
right,
Or it wouldn't work unless you did this.
right. Change some zoning bylaws.
I was going to say, we could
sidewalks.
even conceivably, we could conceivably consider expanding the, what does you call it, the business district?
Yes,
We could
Yeah.
rezone some sections to allow
correct,
further kinds of opportunities.
right. Yep.
May I say something about the bridge, the pocket park idea?
Sure.
Why it's something the town should be proud of. It was built, that bridge was built by someone named Theodore Judah. He was 23 years old when he built it. It's been in continuous use ever since. Amtrak goes over it twice a day. He was the father of the Transcontinental Railroad. He convinced Abraham Lincoln during the Civil War to go ahead and build the Transcontinental Railroad while the Civil War was going on. It was that important. And he was a major figure in having this accomplished. We should be proud of the fact that he built this bridge before he went west. He went out to Sacramento from here and started the first railroad west of the Rockies. And that's why the Transcontinental Railroad started in Sacramento, because that's where he put his first railroad after he left here. We should be very proud of him.
That's
We should
beautiful.
celebrate him. He's a really major force in American history. And we
Already own the land.
and it's right there.
Yeah.
So I just think it's something to be proud of, and we should celebrate, and could help, put Bernardston more on the map historically.
And I know a couple of us were at that meeting you had with Joe
Yeah.
and Natalie, and they did say that they would like it to be funneled through the select board.
Correct.
Yeah, absolutely, yes.
I know you want to talk about other stuff on here too, or?
Before
Yeah.
you move on with that, the 200,000 request, does that require matching funds in any
No,
sense?
It's an earmark, so
Just
here you go.
flat out?
Here's your money.
Okay.
How
That's
did you,
how I
how did you
understand it.
determine 200,000?
Well, our very efficient clerk, Sarah, she works for the city of Northampton, so do you think that's enough money? Well, why don't you just go for 200,000? You just throw it out there, because that might be what it's gonna cost these days.
Yeah,
to
I
get a
didn't,
study
I
done.
asked because I
And
didn't
we
know
really-
if you guys did any digging into entities that might do an economic development plan.
No, and I don't remember, what Northfield may have paid for theirs. They had one done recently for what they needed to do, and I don't remember what their amount
Right.
was. If it was,
Andrea might be able to give you
Yeah.
a little guidance on that
Yeah.
part.
so,
Well, one other idea, I mean, I'm just gonna say this, we did mention this in our meeting on Monday. If you ask for too little, I don't think you get taken seriously enough. If you ask for something more noticeable, and you ask for it in a good way, well, these people have serious intentions, and they need the means to do it. I think you get taken more seriously.
yeah. So I don't know what your thoughts are on the earmark for an economic development plan, if you're gonna.
Well, I think the sewer is a real stretch. We've already had that looked at by a firm.
Yeah,
And
but how long
that's,
ago?
how long ago? That
How long
was,
ago was that?
that
It's gotta
wasn't,
be 10, 12 years.
no, was it that long?
Yeah, it was.
A long time ago.
Yeah, 'cause I think it was before I was on the board.
Yeah, so you figure back then it was about, what, 2 million to even get it started? So now it'd be up around 5, and then you gotta find, then you gotta operate it. And
Right.
so-
Right.
But
There's a-
what would it hurt to include it? It wouldn't hurt anything, it's no sweat
It
out.
wouldn't hurt, but we've already know what they're gonna say, because we've already had them come through and check out the whole center village. And took it only, I think they only took it down to, just past the 4-leaf, I think.
Oh, really? They didn't go all the way down south?
No.
If I may, I think one option to consider is, apart from its initial cost, and even its continued maintenance cost, is the opportunity for the town to economically develop based on the fact that such a facility
Yeah,
exists.
but where, because all you're talking about, there's no place to develop here in Center Village.
But it
So-
could be something they might look at that you, now with the
No,
technology. you
if
could
it's
tie
not
into
gonna
City of
cost us any
Greenfield.
money, that's fine, but
Yeah.
as they say, we've already done it, and I don't think
I
we
mean,
can
I think it
afford it.
would be one of the things that, as an economic development plan, they would look at
If
the
we could
existing
get it up on Route
infrastructure.
10, if we could get it up on Route 10, where the businesses up there could use it, because it's businesses that need it.
Right.
And you're not gonna put any businesses down here that are gonna,
Well, that could be part of the whole
You don't
examining.
know.
what
Where-
You
gets
don't know.
where you
looked at.
gonna put 'em?
That's the whole idea
In
of
the
the
swamp?
study, is to determine these things.
But you may be able to tie into somebody else. I mean, Mount Herman has a quite extensive sewer system on their
That's what I
property.
was thinking.
They may be looking for a couple bucks for income from people paying into their system.
Yeah.
Who, it still may
You
be
never
cost
know.
prohibitive, but who
And
knows?
it really,
Oh,
I
I'm
mean,
sure it is.
honestly, it can't hurt.
That's a good idea. Yeah, the point is to examine possible options. Also, there's new technologies coming along all the time regarding sewage treatment.
yeah, but I'm just trying to figure out where you folks are coming from, because I'm looking at Center Village down here.
Mhm.
Where are you gonna put a factory that's gonna
That's-
need?
It
Where?
doesn't have to be a factory.
Where are you gonna put a
Development
big,
could
where are you gonna
be
put a big
the
business?
The corner lot down there could be a nice
Okay,
business.
that's
I'm
gonna
just
be-
saying, you know.
But not only business, housing, or,
No, I'm sure, but you guys go, I mean, that's fine, but I'm telling you right now, I don't think the sewer in
Well,
Center
that's why
Village
we need a
will make
plan.
it.
We need somebody, an independent study to come in and give us a plan and determine
What's practical and
What's
why?
practical.
why
And
it
the
might
other
be-
side of that, and the other part of that was, the only place they could find to put the sewer was up where the marijuana place now is using all the land, so there's not a place
I
up there.
thought it was by Pringle, by the river.
No. It was up there, it was gonna be pumped up.
And where was it supposed to go?
Up on the Sandry lot, if they could have made a deal, if it would have been feasible to do it at that time, and it would have been pumped, it would have been, and that's what they do all over, like, the little knolls like that doesn't bother a sewer system, because they pump it up.
Okay.
See, I thought it was there because it's beside the river.
It was up there. Could have to have a space big enough for it.
Oh, that is big enough up there, but.
Where?
or like
But anyway,
Brian said, we could consider tying in to NMH or Greenfield or.
but again, that's the purpose of trying to get a plan and find out what an outside company thinks.
Now, that's just my thought.
And
You
how-
wanna know my thoughts on it, that's what my thoughts were.
Duly noted. So those are the first few things anyways. The next two items are actually just asking for their help to initiate a conversation between Mass Wildlife and the town to help open up the trails over in Satan's Kingdom and make them more publicly accessible, because people they're out there. You go on All Trails, which is an app, and you can go out and hike as long as you have GPS so you don't get lost. But not that we're asking them to mark anything, but there's no place to park to actually utilize the property. And that is a great opportunity for people to get out and hike in that area. The other is the possibility of swapping the land that the town owns behind Kringle Factory. It's a landlocked parcel. It's landlocked by the railroad tracks, the river, and Route 91. So it's of no use to us. And the other option, or possibly add a little bit of the charity farm lot, which John Lepore actually mentioned this. He goes, maybe we can give them a portion of the charity farm lot because it already abuts some of their property that they own.
In exchange for
In
what?
exchange for the Darwin Scott Swamp. Because I think that being in the center of town, it's an opportunity for people who like to do birding and that sort of thing, eventually do a raised walkway through there, an auger system, because you're not disturbing the soils, you're just doing an auger system. I've seen that in a lot of places, nice boardwalks that go out through a wetland area that's raised up, and people would be able to get out there and enjoy the wildlife that's out there, the birds and beavers. And it would be an attraction for people to come and get out there, because there is a lot of activity out there that you can't see without being out there.
The other aspect of this that I think would be good for the town is that the town would then regain control over that acreage, which is right smack in the heart of this village. And right now, it's off limits. We have no say in what's done with it, and it would be nice to be able to reclaim that by giving up something that we really don't use. And it would just be win-win.
Well, I have no qualms myself about reaching out to them and seeing what kind of assistance they can get us to talk about the trails up in Satan's Kingdom. That should be an easy ask. Could be a stone wall of conservation and recreation, but they're saying they want to hear from us and help us do things. That's recreation in the town that
Right.
shouldn't be hard, you'd think, as
Right.
state taxpayers to open up state-owned land that's in our community
Right,
to be able to recreate on it.
exactly.
Right.
I mean, that should be an easy ask. I'm a little more skeptical of the Scott Swamp because I'm not sure if we want to take ownership of the swamp, but at this point, but I'm still willing to listen.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
and
Thank you.
again, I don't know if that would require a vote of the town eventually. Or
First
not.
land swap.
Yeah, I'm sure it would.
Yeah, so.
They tried to get the town to buy that twice, and they turned it down
Right.
twice. And that's why it went to the Mass Wildlife,
But it
because
wouldn't cost the town anything if they just gave away land they weren't using. There's no cash.
good luck. Good
Well, I
luck.
mean, these are all
I'm
things
gonna tell you, that's not gonna happen
you need
either.
your blessing with, and that you need to, be supportive of.
I mean, personally, I
No,
think
it's good, that's how we would support it, but, I mean, if you wanna take the lead work and try to get that to happen, I mean, we've had enough battles over that swamp already with DEP, and they don't want us to touch it.
Exactly.
They need nothing. Don't walk on it, don't do anything. I mean, we dumped a little bit of dirt just on the edge of it, and we got in all kinds of trouble and had to, so, I'm more happy if you can make that happen.
yeah.
I tip my hat to you.
I
Thank
think that's a good one,
Thank you.
really, to see where that goes, see if they have any luck inroads into the, is it recreation and conservation? I forget what it's even called, what division of the state that's on there.
DCR.
DCR,
yeah.
What does that stand for?
Department of Conservation and Recreation,
Okay.
but this is Mass Wildlife that owns it, so.
Yeah.
What if they could switch?
But I'm more
Yeah.
intrigued by your number 3 myself, personally.
Yes, to
I
see
know.
if we can get them to go to Amherst
I mean, they don't do
College.
anything with it. They don't do
Exactly.
anything with it. I mean,
I know you guys were gonna look a little more after that meeting into what the real agreement was. Did we ever find anything different than we had known already that John Lepore found? That's that.
About Amherst College?
Yeah, that it all had to go through them to do anything?
Right.
I mean, I think it's worth starting that conversation, I do.
Yeah.
Right.
Joe
because what
said
do
she
they
has them
want?
in there.
What
Yes,
do they
exactly.
need the property for?
Right, I
You
mean,
know,
it's-
they may say, yeah, no, that's a.
I mean, the president of
Give
the
me-
college might not even have a clue this is even on their books.
Exactly.
Right.
Sure,
Correct.
he or she doesn't.
Yeah,
Right.
And that could help us do other things in the park.
correct.
So which park is it we're talking about there?
The Cushman.
Cushman Park, oh,
Yeah.
it's owned by Amherst College.
No,
They hold, it's in the trust, right?
it's, yeah, it's in the will that if the town doesn't maintain or take care of the park or want the park, I'm not sure what the wording is, but that it would revert to the Amherst College.
You can't put a permanent structure over there.
This is the whole of Cushman Park, or just the piece where the building that had to be,
Cushman Park.
the whole
And,
thing?
and Cushman Hall, I would imagine.
Cushman Hall, that was, yeah.
Which is now a parking lot.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But I know John did find a document that spelled it out pretty clear.
Well, I've got a copy of the will, so I can print out the will for you guys.
To me, it's worth asking.
Was
Joe
that
and Natalie
Cushman's
both.
will?
Yes.
Push that.
Right.
Who would you contact?
Well.
Joe Comerford offered up to go to she knows the president of Amherst College personally.
Yeah.
She said she was willing to go sit and talk to that individual to start the conversation on behalf of the town of Bernardston,
Bingo.
Yeah.
to allow us control of it,
But the control of the
the
park.
park. So that. if
You'd
we-
have to get that document for Joe. So she would be able to read that, or
Yeah, I
at
think
least
she
take
said
it.
she wanted it, yeah.
Okay.
That would
Happy
be,
to do that.
that'd be a
Yeah, 'cause
good
if it-
starting point.
I know you had some good ideas of things to do over there, but it all involved permanent structures.
Yeah.
And we're trying to find a way to make it temporary to meet the will,
Right.
which makes it more difficult. If we could get control over it,
Bingo.
it may open up a lot more things we could all do over there.
That's exactly my point about Darwin Scott Swamp, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, we have to fight with them when it's time to dredge it, so we can get the water out of the park.
Right.
Because we have to dredge that out, and I think Bobby Dean's the only one that's been in there to do that project.
So do you need a letter from us of some sort? What do you think the best way to go about this is?
Probably
Probably that document.
something from you guys to
I think
Joe and Natalie.
Joe and Natalie
would be
both said they'd
great.
like it to be funneled through the select board at that
Yes,
meeting.
yeah.
Well, what about this page of proposed ideas?
Right.
You could simply write at the bottom, we support this,
Mhm.
or in an email or whatever, and we could then forward your thing to the planning board.
I mean, is the board okay with that? Do you wanna-
I'm good with everything but 1D, the sewer system. That's a distraction. It takes away from the strength of everything else. I'm enthusiastic about the swamp. I'm enthusiastic about Cushman Park. The trails, gosh, if we
Kind of a
could.
no-brainer, because
It
they're
is,
already
it's-
out there, we
right.
just need to have
It's
more
kinda silly,
access to
really.
them.
Yeah, it's just the sewer that seems to be sticking.
And
I don't.
again, I think that's more of a study thing that needs to be done, or part of the economic development plan, that whatever they suggest.
A feasibility study.
Sort of, well, not even a feasibility study for that, it's just, they may say, make a statement that sewer would be recommended, but then that leads to another feasibility study again.
Mhm.
I wonder
So,
what
and
the-
I agree, I know that it's hard because we don't have a huge population that can pay for it.
Right,
We're
that would
only limited-
involve borrowing and serious money.
Yeah, but what is, I wonder what the mileage around that would be, the swamp.
You know,
Yeah,
John
I
would
don't
know
know.
that.
John would know that.
Got it. Walk
But I
in.
think
pull
it
it up
was
on a map and tell
25 acres, 28
It's a pretty big chunk of land if
acres?
you think about
Because
it.
that would make a nice walk area for seniors and stuff.
true.
You know, you could-
Absolutely right.
you could tie that in, or you'd have a nice walking area.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I said an auger system that raises up and you have a nice boardwalk around in there.
Now, some of the areas you probably wouldn't have to as long as you had a nice, because if they would allow us, but they won't. if they could allow us to put in like gravel walkway and then over the wet stuff.
No, that's why the
Yeah.
auger system is actually more acceptable by
Right.
environmentalists than,
Less
because
impact.
it's just drilling down and you're suspending your walkway above the ground. You're not disturbing anything underneath except for where the augers are.
But I'm just thinking of cost too, that it'd be easier to do it the other way, but hey, doesn't matter. I mean, if we can get them to allow us to do something, that's great.
It's kind of a dream, but it's something that, you know, it's not gonna happen.
We've been,
I mean, you
This
do have
year or next
recreation
year, but
grants.
it could.
John's
it
been
could-
successful getting grants on the charity lot
Yeah.
for trail work.
Yeah.
That could be
And it
to
could be.
install, even if it's only a partial one to start with.
Right,
Right.
a small area. Yep.
And people
John
can see
also
what
got an
goes.
MVP grant
Yep.
with joining Bernardston and Leiden, which
Right.
is very significant.
okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So the bridge, arch bridge, that would involve the railroad.
No,
Not
I
necessarily.
don't think
No.
so, because we own the property, so
Right.
we can do whatever on.
That we don't own that bridge.
No.
No, but we could
We don't-
we could honor it. We could put a plaque up in the park that says this bridge was built by,
Okay, I guess the bridge is over by the,
Grain mill?
huh?
Right
By
by
the
the
grain
grain
mill?
mill on River Road.
I
Other
thought
side
you
of
were
the
talking
street.
about the one over, the culvert that's got that big, no.
No, the
Oh,
arch
you're
bridge
thinking of the
down
drain
there.
of Scott's
over-
Swamp?
Huh?
You're thinking where the drainage is?
Yeah,
out of
where
Scott's
the railroad
Swamp?
track comes
oh,
over.
no,
there.
no,
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 no.
no. The others, that across, going east on the railroad, across the little bridge on River Street.
Okay.
The bridge that goes over Fall River.
Where Paul Redeker has his tent business now, in the old grain mill.
Yeah,
It's toward the river across the street. We own, it's like a 3-acre spot,
Not
or a
even
2-acre
3 acres,
spot.
I don't think, it's pretty small.
Brian was dumping stumps there for a little while. to
Mhm.
store 'em.
Yeah, and he cleaned it up, thank you.
And we have a
Who-
way to
who
get
did?
all that.
The bridge we're talking about is sort of Roman arches, it's beautiful stone granite blocks. It's gorgeous.
If you go out through the pucker brush now, you'll see it.
It's a beautiful bridge.
It really is.
so you gotta walk through the brush to get to it?
Well,
No,
that
you
can be,
can-
that can be
We clean it
fixed.
all up.
You can see it.
Oh, why don't we,
'Cause you can go out there now and you can walk underneath that bridge.
Yes,
Sure.
Done it a lot.
yep.
It's pretty neat.
It's
out there,
gorgeous.
walk through the weeds and stuff?
Well, you could stand on River Street by the grain mill and see it.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's right, it's just right
Yes.
there.
Yep.
There's a trail that goes down.
But if you walk down
to the
toward the
bottom.
river, you see the old dam that used to be there, the remnants of it.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess I just missed that.
Yeah,
I've
it's a
been-
pretty cool little
Oh,
area.
that
Yeah,
bridge
it
is gorgeous.
And you know, to have some historic pictures
Right,
of what used
right.
to exist there when, because I remember when the dam was there and
Yep,
we used to go swimming and jump off of
yep.
off the pillars, the base of the bridge.
Yep.
Because the water was deeper because of the dam.
Yeah.
The
Right.
dam's gone, you can't even get up on those.
But do you remember they had a rope tow kind of system where they had pulleys and they had a little
Across the
building
road.
in the middle, that's
Yep.
some kind of tower thing?
Yep.
And the ropes came up and went down through the bulwa thing and over
Did
across.
the railroad ever move all their ties out of there? Railroad ties that they were,
Yes, I believe they're
all
gone.
now.
cause they had a bunch of railroad ties in there at one time too.
Might be a
Well,
pile
that's a
of like
detail. I
scrap
mean,
steel there still.
that
but
could
not
be-
much.
That's the picture. I was gonna
Okay.
say, it was on one of the
Yeah,
town.
well,
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
It's a.
Oh, yeah,
it's a
okay,
beautiful
okay,
thing.
I'm all set.
It's a beautiful thing. And the town should be proud of it.
Oh, yeah, for
It's
sure.
it's
I
historic
don't think it
and
would
it's
take much to
gorgeous.
do it, really.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay.
How do we get the sewer out of this recommendation? And then I'd be enthusiastic
It
about,
was just a topic to talk about.
yeah.
You know,
I think it's gonna be eventually included in the economic development of the center village. It has to be.
What's that?
In the study, I think.
Sewer?
Yeah, the sewer. I think it'll be a topic that would come up in a plan.
Yeah, they would ask
And
that
it's a
question. I'm
plan,
sure.
that they, yeah,
Any
and they may make recommendations.
Well, perhaps to Ken's point, take it out. But when the
Let them put it
economic
back in if
person
it has to.
comes, he
Yeah.
might say, if only you had a septic system here, all these other things
They put it
would
back
become
in.
possible.
Well, that's
And
why.
they could put it in.
Yeah.
But to your point, that's a good point. It's a reach. We realize that. It's a reach.
It's almost a distraction.
And well,
I
that's
know
why
we've-
there's a
I know we've had it
question
looked at
behind
a
it.
few
I put the
times
question
already.
mark,
Ah.
I
I
just
remember.
kind of question the feasibility of it myself, but.
So how do we get to what we've all talked about, to some kind of recommendation from the select board?
I
To the
think you
planning board?
Need to make
To-
to Joe and,
Yeah, I think we can reach out to
Traffic.
Joe for an earmark in this amount for an economic development plan for things such as the top three here.
Yeah, and then we just,
Cross off the.
for now, leave out
substantial,
the line about the
Yeah, and
sewer.
they're gonna reach back out
Yeah.
to us with questions,
Oh, for sure.
and we can get back with a plan.
Is there a sense of urgency that this has to be done tonight versus, no, okay.
No.
Just keeping progress going.
trying to keep progress going, yes.
And I
Okay.
think for the Cushman Park thing, if you have the will, if we can get that to Joe, she has an understanding of why it's coming to her
Right.
already.
Mhm.
And we can see how she wants to go forward with that.
Definitely.
Well, with all due respect, I think it's important that we not let this lag.
Right.
Oh, so I'm
Because
wondering about the
Joe sat
urgency.
right here, and Natalie sat right here, and they were excited.
Well, and Alina
And
has
they wanted to
been,
hear from us.
She's the
Alina
one.
has
Yeah.
been communicating back and forth. and
We've
so
seen
she's
seed
looking
on the
for-
emails, yeah.
She's great.
She's looking for a response from the select board or.
And
from
she would be the
somebody.
one too, Elena,
Just-
about the Satan's Kingdom trails.
Right.
To try to help us make that contact.
Right.
Can I make a question? Instead of the ask coming directly from the select board, it might be better if we propose something like this to you, and you come back to us and say, we support this. Because what both of them said was, make sure that anything you ask us to do is supported by the select board. We don't want to see any battles between what you want and what they want. So if we propose to you and you say, yes, we like all of this, then we go back to them and said, the select board's on board with us. Here's what we talked about. We'd like to move ahead.
I think with Lou's wordsmithing, he can say, on the recommendation of the planning board to the select board, in support of the select board, we'd
Yeah,
like to
it's from
look
both
into
of
an
us.
earmark. He's already good at wordsmithing things like that.
Okay, great.
He really
All
is.
right.
And I would like to see, if you're gonna send something to Joe and Natalie, and I would like to see something in here that says we'd like to have a meeting with somebody that's in charge of
The
the
DCI.
Satan Kingdom,
Well,
Yes.
Mass Wildlife.
Mass Wildlife, to sit
Because
down and be able
Mass
to talk to
Wildlife
them.
owns the property.
Over here.
Yeah,
There's
and,
DCR up there.
no, that's
It's not?
Mass Wildlife, it's all Mass Wildlife.
Also,
Yeah.
the center and over there, both?
Yeah.
Okay.
To have a meeting, sit down and talk to them, hey,
Yeah.
listen, this is, no,
Right.
this is state-owned land, I mean, people should be able to use it.
Should be open.
You allow
free.
people to hunt on it, well, why can't we have some marked trails in there? I know John said it would be like, no, he says that's like another world trying to get, oh,
There's over 1,000 acres out there.
yeah.
lot of land.
And I hiked it just a few weeks ago, and the amount of water running down those trails is, I've never seen it like that before. And Dry Brook, at one place, a tree had fallen down, and there was this banking, and the river actually diverted, and it was going over the road. It used to be Surrey Road. It was one of the original town roads. It's getting all washed out because the water then diverted and is going along there now instead. So it's really, I couldn't believe the amount
Yeah,
of
it's worth an
water.
ask. What can they say? No, we're not gonna let you.
Right.
We're not gonna
Okay,
change our
I
ways.
suggest, move this on, I suggest that we follow what Ron said, have you guys propose something officially to us. We can sign it, because there's nothing on here that is, how can I say this? I just have changed, everything on here is important. And it's got merit to it. So, we just have to have that document, we send it back, and then we can move forward in that. The other thing I'd like to do is have a meeting with the select board at some time over to this park, and this piece of land that we own over
Over the
there, and
railroad bridge.
take
And to
a,
the planning board?
take a good look at it and see what we can start thinking about what we're gonna do with it. It's been sitting there for too long.
It'd be good to bring Brian Miner with us.
Yeah, for sure.
Nothing's been going on with it. Maybe we can start by getting it cleaned up, mowed down, all that good stuff,
Conservation
so.
agent, once we hire him.
So we'll get that on the agenda, and we can invite, you guys can
We'd love to go.
Be happy to.
on this.
Enjoy it, yep.
We'll go from there.
Where's John on vacation?
No,
John
I
Ford?
was busy, I guess.
It's a good thing.
Okay, anything else you'd like to?
Thank you for
we'd like
that.
to
Thanks for
Thank you
doing
very
that.
much for your time and
Thank
consideration.
you so much.
That's excellent. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
I'm excited.
Well,
Yeah.
We'll get over there, we're gonna take a look.
I
at it.
learned something.
Yeah.
This guy, what's his name again?
Who?
The one that put up the
Theodore Judah,
J-U-D.
D-A-H. And he married a woman from Greenfield named Alice Pierce. And I think the Pierce brothers,
Coffey?
are probably descendants of hers.
Yeah.
Judah died crossing the Isthmus of Panama because they didn't have a transcontinental railroad yet.
Okay.
He got malaria or yellow fever, and it was tragic. But he was a genius. He was born in Bridgeport. He had 1 semester of formal education at Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute in Troy, and he was 9 years old at the time.
Okay.
And then he came here when he was 23, and he built this bridge.
You got a
What are
book on
those-
that guy or something?
Yeah, it's written up by Jim Gilday in his History of Bernardston.
Oh, okay, okay, yeah.
Jim wrote an amazing book about this town. And we were very fortunate to have that.
So, Chris, if you will get with Lou sometime this week or next week, set up that appointment. It has to be in the afternoon, when you get out of work,
Yeah, anytime 2:30, or after.
okay? And let the people know, we'll go over there and we'll meet and we'll just
Unless
walk
it works out
around.
better in the middle of the
Sure.
day.
I wouldn't get up and walk on the tracks if I were you.
No.
No.
You don't want to get stuck up there when the train's coming.
Yeah.
No,
Give
no.
Ryan a heads up ahead of time.
Not unless they get me some
No.
life insurance.
Think about it.
Now that my mind's working again, I get.
Yeah, you know we are.
It's a beautiful thing.
We knew you knew it.
Well, thank you so
Okay,
much.
Yeah,
thank you.
Ron.
Thank you.
Appreciate your work.
Very good.
Okay, we move on to new business. We got a one-day liquor license. Assistant Fire Chief Lloyd Grover has asked for the fire department to be granted a one-day liquor license for the Scarecrow in the Park event on Friday, October 20th, 2023. Lloyd said the Kiwanis wouldn't be able to handle the beer event as they've done in the past. He also said that this would be their fall fundraiser instead of their usual steak roast. We have
That's a
a
good idea. Make a motion.
I would move that we grant a one-day liquor license for Friday, October 20th to the fire department to support the Scarecrow in the park.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and seconded to allow a one-day liquor license to the fire department for the Scarecrow in the park. All those in favor?
Aye.
So move it passed. Okay, we have an appointment of a COMCOM agent. The Conservation Commission is asking the Select Board to appoint Savannah Kitchen to be the new conservation agent. Did I pronounce that right?
Yes, you did, sir.
The commission stated that she has the relevant experience and background, has experience working with wetlands protection, and her references all checked out very well. Her qualifications, work ethic, and affability will be a great asset to the working with our commission. She has accepted our offer of $25 per hour to be paid from wetland fees, as was our previous agent, Cassie Target.
Traeger.
Big shoes to fill.
Yeah, they are.
And it's a pretty impressive resume that she has here.
Yeah, it sounds like she's been pretty well vetted.
Yeah, and I spoke with a couple of the commissioners who were involved really with following up on references and interviewing Savannah, and they are very excited.
She has a BS in animal science, a master's in conservation biology. And I can't even pronounce some of these things
Oh,
that
boy, yeah.
she does. I mean,
Yeah, we're with you.
but I would say this is probably a good find, and I'll leave it up to you gentlemen if you want to.
We need a motion?
Yes.
I would make a motion to appoint Savannah Kitchen to be the new conservation agent.
I'll second that motion.
Motion made and seconded to appoint Savannah Kitchen to be our new conservation agent. All those in favor?
Aye.
At $25 an hour.
Yes.
Correct.
All those in
Is-
favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Is that what Cassie was being?
Yes.
Yes.
We got time time off request, and I'm sure everybody's all set with it. So I'll just sign it and pass it down to you guys, so I don't have to come back to me.
Sure.
Make a motion to approve the time off request as presented.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve the time off request. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the next we got a baseball, softball infields at Pratt Fields. The Rec Commission Chair Jen Stearns asked the town coordinator if he could have the highway department move the dugouts at Pratt Field from the baseball diamond over to the softball diamond. There has been no rec baseball, as most young baseball players are playing in the Greenfield League at the Lunt Field. The town coordinator met with Brian Minor and they came up with a different possibility. So I will let the town coordinator talk to us about that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Brian and I considered the situation. This is something that Jen had mentioned prior to the start of this past softball season. As you know, they've had problems with the field that they use for softball in that the weeds keep cropping up. Part of that problem is something that they don't have down at Lunt Field, where coaches and parents are expected to go and rake the infield and stuff after every practice and every game. We don't seem to have that level of volunteerism here, and it's a short season anyway. But when Jen came in the other day, she was asking if those rickety dugouts could be moved from the baseball diamond over to the softball field. When Brian and I were talking about it, now my Josh hasn't played at Pratt Field since he was, I think, 10. So that's almost 9 years ago. And the dugouts were a little sketchy then. I don't know how they are these days. I'm going to guarantee that nobody's gone out and done any remodeling or renovations to them. What Brian and I were talking about was, with the lack of baseball going on, it would probably be easier just to cut the infield grass out of the baseball diamond, take the pitcher's mound out, and make that the softball diamond. So that essentially then we'd have two softball diamonds. But in the past separate conversation I've had with people who've coached softball, that there'd be interest in maybe using it as a tournament facility if we've got two diamonds. But back to the conversation with Jen and then my follow-up conversation with Brian, it seems that's going to be the most sensible approach. The reason that it's on the agenda now is, as we were talking, it seems like it would be a great spring project, but Highway is so busy during the spring. He suggested if they could do it in early to mid-October, that it's kind of a transition time for them. So it might work out better for their schedule if they were able to do it in early October.
And specifically, the it is to scrape the grass in the infield area off of the baseball diamond.
Yep.
I think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
And then he would get another load or two of that infield mix that is supposed to be the greatest
Okay,
thing.
but what's that got to do with the dugouts?
Then you want
Well,
them
that way the dugouts stay in place. The
Brian-
dugouts don't get moved then.
Brian's concerned if he moves them, they might not make it.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, well, it sounds to me like, so what you're saying is we're gonna stop using the other softball field and move it up to where the dugouts are and
Yes.
use that one. Okay, so that was, see how easy that was to say it that way?
You said it much better than I did.
Okay.
So what do you need here? A recommendation?
Just board approval can be by consensus if y'all think it's a great idea. And
Makes
that way I
sense.
can let Brian know to put it on his schedule for October.
I think it's a great idea.
Yes.
Yeah. And I are gonna,
Just make sure Jen knows.
I'm gonna say, one more thing, we're gonna say that we need to go down and we need to take a look
Yes.
at the park, I mean, and look at the dugouts and see if we need to have a change there, have them torn down, rebuilt, or whatever.
If
But
it's a
we
safety
we need to look at that as a select board.
We can do
Road
that.
trip.
Huh?
We can do that.
Schedule us a road trip.
Sounds
Okay,
good.
And we can make that on the same day that we do the
Bridge?
the bridge.
Good
Okay.
idea.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Now, we have a letter here that Lou has so graciously put together for us for the Cannabis Control Commission. And if people don't know, there's a lot going on right now with the Cannabis Control Commission. They're coming out with new regulations that could strongly affect our host agreement fees. And we're just trying to make sure that they keep this, keep it fair. I'm going to quickly read this so people will know what we're talking about. It says, "We are writing to you regarding the recently approved draft regulations on the host community agreement in municipal equity. On behalf of the town of Bernardston, we strongly urge you to revise these regulations to protect existing host community agreements. As you know, cities and towns led the way in deciding whether to open neighborhoods to commercial marijuana enterprises and have negotiated in good faith to execute host community agreements, including mutually agreed to provisions on community impact fees. More than 500 HCAs are currently in place statewide in over 150 municipalities. We strongly recommend amending the draft regulation to take a two-tiered approach. One for renewal of the existing HCAs, which are negotiated in good faith and are protected by the contract clause of the Constitution, and one for the licensures of and renewals of new HCAs executed after the new law's effective date." Go ahead, Brian, take it from there.
Here in Bernardston, a rural community with a population of 2,100, we were one of the first towns in the Commonwealth to welcome a cannabis cultivation operation. The Heirloom Collective has been an asset to our town and has created dozens of jobs in a town where there was previously little opportunity for employment. Our town currently has 2 HCAs with the Heirloom Collective. Both were fairly negotiated and legally executed. The second HCA with Heirloom is tied to their retail operation here in Bernardston. The agreement contains a provision that Heirloom will honor the impact fees in the agreement regardless of circumstances. The draft regulations are currently presented jeopardize our small town's ability to host any future cannabis operations in Bernardston, as well as seriously affect our ability for future hosting agreements with Heirloom. While the multi-billion-dollar cannabis industry has repeatedly downplayed the direct and indirect impact of the industry on municipalities, the legally executed contracts reflect real local needs. Several years ago, when faced with a ballot initiative, many of our residents were opposed to cannabis operations in Bernardston. After being presented with some examples of how cannabis could have a positive effect on the finances of the town, residents voted in favor of welcoming cannabis to town. The overwhelming response had to do with the financial cushion that hosting agreements would bring to Bernardston. Currently, we are attempting to move our fire station closer to Heirloom. Such a move obviously comes with a huge cost to the town. Quite frankly, it's a long overdue move and one that is unlikely to happen without our legally agreed upon impact fees. In our case, then, our impact fees affect public safety and are much needed. With your assistance, the law can retain the key priority of advancing social equity without interfering with existing contracts. It is essential that the draft regulations be rewritten to prevent the placement of undue burdens on municipalities and local taxpayers and to avoid perpetual litigation that will waste valuable time and public resources. Thank you very much for your consideration of these important concerns. And it's signed by the Bernardston Selectboard.
Okay, do we have any problems with signing this, or?
No, I think it's a
I would like to see it CC'd to the governor's office.
Very well.
And I'm going to copy Natalie and
Yes.
Joe Comerford.
Yes.
Thank you for doing that, Lou.
You're welcome.
Okay. Okay, next on the agenda, we have a memorandum of understanding between the Franklin County Solid Waste Management and the town of Bernardston. And this is to do with the transfer station inspections. And it basically says, whereas the town is a member of the Franklin County Solid Waste Management District, and whereas the town operates a permitted municipal transfer station, and whereas 310 CMR 19.018 requires transfer stations to be inspected yearly by a third party, and whereas the Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection has authorized the district to serve as a third-party inspector. Therefore, the district and the town now agree to the following terms and conditions regarding transfer station inspections conducted by the district. The district shall conduct an inspection of the town's transfer station to ascertain its compliance with 310 CMR 19 solid waste management regulations. The district shall conduct said inspection no later than November 30th, 2023, using the MADEP third-party inspection forms. The district shall invoice the town $175 for the transfer station inspection service. This amount will cover the site visit, mileage, writing, and submitting a report to DEP and follow-up if necessary. The district will supply the town with a copy of the inspection results and identify areas of non-compliance. Only thing I'm against is the $175 fee. I mean, if they want to inspect us, they should pay for it. We shouldn't. But what's your pleasure, gentlemen?
I think that's an annual expenditure we have to do to remain compliant to keep the transfer station open.
Agreed.
But I do agree with you, if the DEP's regulation, they should find the cash.
And there might be another thing you can, Natalie and Joe want to hear stuff from us. You can say that we're very upset over this, that you want us, the state basically saying it's got to be inspected, and now you want us to pay for the inspection. If you want it inspected, you pay for
And
it.
that ties in with the PFAS regulation, which is going to affect the transfer station going forward.
Huge.
Yeah, and
That's
I
a
guess
huge one.
if you look at it that way, you could look at what we have to pay to monitor the wells in the landfill, and that's
Yeah.
almost $8,000 a year.
And they're talking, we thought we were coming to the end of
Yeah,
life
right.
of doing that, and now they're talking of extending it
Forever.
forever at an additional cost for the new PFAS test.
Okay, and then we have another one, a memorandum of understanding by and between the Franklin County Solid Waste Management District and the town of Bernardston regarding the third-party inspection of just the same one?
Mr. Chairman, you've got two copies of the same thing there. All the board members should sign it, so we should have a motion and a second, please.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Oh, here's the other one.
Yeah, and the second copy in each instance is for our records.
No, but I mean, there's another solid waste one here.
Yes.
I thought it was, okay, Franklin County Solid Waste Management District in the town of Bernardston. This is a memorandum of understanding between the town of Bernardston and the Franklin County Solid Waste Management District. Again, whereas participating towns have appropriated the funds required for a regional household hazardous waste collection event. Therefore, the town hereby requests that the district initiates a collection event with the following conditions. There will be a regional household hazardous waste collection event on Saturday, September 23rd, 2023. There will be 2 sites operating concurrently on the collection day at the Greenfield Community College and the Orange Transfer Station. The district will be responsible for the coordination and administration of the events. The town will be charged its proportional share of the cost of the collection based upon the administrative expenses, the number of participants from the town, and the volume of hazardous waste received from the towns. And it's saying we have a budget of $900. So, you gentlemen, you were in favor of signing this for the solid waste household
So moved.
hazardous waste? All those in favor of it?
Aye.
It's a fee that's already been contributed to and paid by everybody.
Is there a fee for individuals to bring their
that doesn't
I
state.
believe it's free once you get there.
Once you get
Yeah,
there, you got it, but you've got
you do
to
have to
pre-arrange.
pre-register.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
That's the key piece, I think, the pre-register part.
There was an article in the paper or something on it as well, so we'll have to, can you get that article up on their website so people can
Yes.
go to our website and see what they have to do to
The pre-register.
participate
Yes.
in that? Okay, Jennifer Reynolds is asked to be reappointed as the FRTA rep for FY '24. Your pleasure, gentlemen.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
There's nothing here that we have to sign, so that's good. Franklin County Council of Governments would like to have an alternate to the council appointments. I don't know of any. You know of any? Moving on.
This would be in case the primary contact is not available?
Yeah.
So how often does that happen?
Maybe once a year. What a problem it does, it puts the person in a kind of a type business, because you don't go to all the meetings, so then you don't know what the flavor is and how things are. But I would suggest this, since you mentioned it and I wasn't thinking, that we put you on as the alternate.
I wouldn't object to that. How about that?
Because you could even attend the meetings,
Get it.
we can both go.
I'd make a motion to appoint Ken Bordewick as the alternate to the FERCog, Franklin County Regional
And
Council
I
of
would second
Governments.
that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Ken.
Okay, we have with us the credit card policy agreement. I don't know if you guys have had a chance to read all that.
Yeah, it's been reviewed by the treasurer and the town council. So that has been fully vetted.
Just so people know, we've had an issue in town trying to get some things paid at different times because like a highway department might need a part today, and they don't have a credit card. Town doesn't have a credit card for them to go and pick up that item, so they use their credit card, and then they can't get reimbursed for the tax that comes on it, because sometimes the vendor will not waive the tax. So we decided to get the town credit card, and it will be controlled through the select board's office, and Lou will be the person that will control that. And so everything really has to still come through the select board's office before it can be charged out, so we know it's not being abused. And I think it's a good
It's a good
thing.
thing.
We've supported it in the past, yes.
It's a great thing.
So
Does it make a motion for that one?
Yeah, you should.
I would say that we should have a motion to accept the credit card policy.
So moved.
Second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
That's a good one to be done with.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's a whole place, okay, good. Okay. Now, one other thing that has come up tonight that Lou brought to our, just as before the meeting was started, we now have the purchase and sales agreement for the fire station. The purchase price of $1.6 million, a non-refundable deposit of $150,000, a deposit to be advanced at $150,000, with a balance due of $1,300,000. If it's all right with you folks, we can initial it and sign it tonight.
Yes.
Do we have a motion on that?
It's already been approved by the town
Right.
meeting, right?
Right, it's a formality, but you should probably make a motion anyway.
Move to authorize the signing of the purchase and sale agreement.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, I've already
Oh, you got ahead of us, huh?
initialed, and you can initial every page and go through that. Okay. Now, Before I turn it over to the town coordinator for his report, we've talked in the past about chairs for the senior center.
Oh, right.
I really can't remember how we left it, but I think it was for her to get us a quote. She's looking to replace the chairs that we have there. They're old, need replacing. And there's a price for 100. She's got one quote for $9,000 and shipping of $514.75. The shipping's what's the problem with that one. And then one of the seniors, Tom Newton, went to Staples and got a quote for them for 90 chairs. And the price came in at $8,503 and no shipping cost. So I think we need to talk about what we want to do with these chairs, if we want to research a little bit more, to see if we can get a better price someplace else.
What the strategy that she recommended was to get one of each just to see the quality, and the price difference, even with the shipping, is a couple $100. It's when you compare apples to apples, the 100 chairs versus 100 chairs.
The U-line chair is, for one, is $95, and I think the Staples was $90 when you did the math on that. So it would be spending $180, just over almost $190 just to get two chairs to try out. You said that the chair that she showed you for Staples is the same one that we got over there, and you didn't think
Correct,
those were
and they
as
didn't-
comfortable
they
as
didn't-
these chairs?
And they didn't hold up, which is why we're replacing them.
And those are stackable, right? Yeah, 5 high.
Yep.
Those are stackable.
I think it's probably a good idea to get one of each though and let her try them to see.
Yeah.
I think that's a good approach, and then wait on that recommendation. What do you think? Instead of buying them blind.
Lou, have you done any of your special research on chairs or anything?
This is the first I've heard of it, Mr. Chairman, but I would be
Okay.
happy to look into it first thing tomorrow morning.
Well, it's not a rush thing, but we're gonna pass these off to you. You got two here, but if you could research out there and see if there's something better
Yep. Thank you.
and cheaper. then-
Stackable is a key piece for over
Right.
there, though. It must stack.
Yes.
And then we can report back on that at the next meeting.
Very good.
Next meeting.
Okay, town coordinator's report.
Very well, Mr. Chairman, thank you. Since we last met, I've been in touch with Jay Tallerman of Mead, Tallerman and Costa. That's the alternate counsel that we use. He is currently working on the clarification for school budgeting as to if the capital funding can go into the full budget. So I haven't gotten a report back from him, but since we last met, he is working on it. So
Thank you.
there's something that's going on. Speaking of school, summer's over, friends. School starts next week. First day of school for grades 1 through 12 is going to be Thursday, August 31st. So that's a week from tomorrow. There'll be a half day on Friday, September 1st, and no school on Monday, September 4th, which is Labor Day. Kindergarten classes start on Tuesday, September 5th, and preschool begins with half days, September 6th through 8th. So please drive carefully, people. There's going to be a lot of little kids out there again. Blythe Robinson of Capital Strategic has applied for a police body camera grant. The application has been filled out, so we're just waiting on the details to see if she has gotten us that award.
Is Jimmy behind that?
Yeah, she, in fact, on the next warrant, you're going to see a couple of charges for Zoom calls that they were on together to get the specifications. In fact, I'm glad you mentioned that because today, an email came along from the Operational Services Division that they're going to have a webinar on, I think, September 14th, and they're going to start offering body cameras on a state contract. So this might all really play out in a good way for us. Also, while we're talking about Capital Strategic, where we first got on board with them was to do our ARPA reporting. The U.S. Treasury, who never lets us down, announced last week a modification to their final rule.
Of course they did.
So this is the third final rule that we're on now. The good news is that nothing in this modification adversely affects anything that we're involved with. So hold our breath on that, but it's so far so good. Unfortunately, in another development, the cost of recycling continues to increase. The base rate on our contract for the current year is $100.69 per ton. In July, the aftermarket value, money that we got back, was $35.56 a ton, which meant we were paying $65.13. The figures for August are in, and the AMV for August is only going to be $31.86 a ton, which means our fee goes up to $68.83 per ton. And keep in mind that our hauling costs are above and beyond those per ton fees. Going to leave you with a little bit of good news tonight. Finally, with our new fuel system, all online, and everybody is taking advantage of it. The first month of the fiscal year saw the police use over 483 gallons of gasoline over there. The average cost per gallon for them was $3.13, which is a heck of a savings over the $3.79 that you see posted all around the area. The average price per gallon for diesel fuel was $3.04. So far so good with one full month in the books, and we're looking at more savings for this month. So keep you posted on that one. Excellent. And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you for the update.
Any word on the repeaters?
Yeah, I was going to ask.
Were you?
Yeah.
Still waiting.
Still waiting.
Yeah, I asked Chief Palmieri about that the other day, and still waiting.
No sense of
Okay,
when. That's a safety issue for our kids.
Yeah, well,
in the schools.
Actually, where the conversation originated was he sent me a couple of invoices, and it turns out it's for some connection equipment that's involved with them. I said, well, do we have them yet? Nope. I said, well, I'm not paying the bills then.
This is Aaron, his
These bills came, I think, from Motorola or their sub.
Okay.
Aaron's going to do the work to get the installation done, but if you don't have the repeaters to install, there can't be much of a rush on getting these extra gadgets in.
Okay.
This has been forever. We were talking about it in the spring.
It has to be over 6 months now,
Yeah.
which is what they said the lead time was.
Yeah, because I think when did we meet with USDA? Wasn't that like November?
That far back.
Yeah,
I think it was.
yeah.
Shortly
Because
after the first of the year,
we
got
met over there, and things all played out and worked out well. But I know that between myself, Blythe, and the folks from USDA, we went through probably 2 months worth of meetings. So I think the actual order was placed probably in February at the
Yeah.
latest.
Okay, spring.
Yeah.
Okay, coming up, we need to have an update at our next meeting on how we're going to get these new property markers
Yes.
solidified and making sure that they're in cement so they can't be taken up and visible.
I did speak with Brian Miner about that, and he wanted to do business. Apparently, Keene Monument has a subsidiary up in Swansea, and he knew exactly what kind of markers he should be getting, and he seemed to think that he could have all of them installed for only about $100.
And then we should get that moving immediately, so before somebody moves these
Yeah, for sure.
sticks and all that good stuff. The other thing is, as we move forward with the fire station moving, which is going to, for people's information, it's probably going to be a year before they see the fire station actually move out of the center of Bernardston. We need to start working on what we're going to do with the properties, especially the Bud Foster property. And Brian Keir has come up with a suggestion for a pavilion that could go there. Very nice looking one. He got pictures of it from the one in Guilford. And I would kind of like to know how we should move forward with that, get the townspeople involved in it. to get their okay, to see if they'd be okay with it. I don't want it to be a select board's decision. I'd like it to be the townspeople's decision. So maybe we could ask for volunteers for a committee to start looking at that. But like I said, Brian, that's a great idea. I mean, the pavilion that Guilford put up is $20,000. And they hired a firm, it's Post and Beam. And according to, well, Brian, why don't you explain it, because you were involved.
Brian Miner, he lives in that community, so he actually pointed out to me and sent me some pictures that they hired a company that made the timber frame, and then they had like a traditional New England barn raising on a weekend, and volunteers showed up with the guidance of the company that built it, and they assembled it in the weekend. They had the site work done, they had the pad poured already, obviously, for that. And he said within a weekend they had it up and the roof on, and it was ready to go, and theirs is a pretty substantial sized one, and they had around 20,000 into it. I think ours would be smaller based on the lot, but it does look pretty neat, really, and some of our thoughts we've thrown back and forth. I know Lou and I and Brian Miner had a conversation that we could run power from the existing fire station, but have the ability to shut it off within the fire station so it wouldn't be on all the time. And perhaps the senior center could go over there and utilize it. The school typically walks to the library and the senior center to do activities. They could use that for a place for the kids to stop and eat lunch. The community could use it just in general. You might be able to have some small gatherings with a speaker or somebody playing a guitar over there, or utilize it during the Scarecrow in the Park event in town and any other community events that happen in the center of town, and dedicate that to Bud Foster with a plaque, and maybe plant, I know magnolias were the big family tree, maybe plant another one over in that general vicinity. And we looked at, there's a beautiful sugar maple over there right now. The branches are kind of low to the ground, but we think Brad, the tree warden, could raise that tree up a little bit so that people could get under it and actually utilize that shade too.
Oh, that'd be great.
If there was something else, so, but I think the committee's a good idea. I mean, I can get some more information as to what size we think might fit there, just so they'd have a little bit of something to stew on, and what kind of cost we might be talking.
So I'm putting the word out tonight. If anybody would like to be on a committee to start working on what our options would be for utilizing that piece of property that Bud Foster gave to the town, please contact Lou Bordeaux at the town office here. It's 413-648-5401. And we'd like to get this started. I'd like to see, I would like to see something, a committee formed and working on it by the end of September.
Yeah.
So we can get that moving. And I think you said that Brian was going to gravel the area where the house was?
Yes.
So would that be some additional parking? So we're moving forward. Anything else, gentlemen, that you have that?
Just a recognition, the nice work that Snow and Sons did at the library. If you haven't seen it yet, make a point of stopping by. It's really sharp.
Yeah.
They did a great job.
Yeah, and just one other point out that, our town employees, like we talked about the police department making that arrest this weekend with all the break-ins, but that thanks goes out to all our town employees, all the first responders in this community. People like Lou Bordeaux, the tax collector, assessors, town clerk, folks that work at the highway department and transfer station, police department, fire department. Don't want to leave anybody out, library.
That's good.
We just do appreciate that. We probably don't say it enough, but they're the ones that drive the town. It's not the three of us. They keep it going.
Okay, anything else?
Move to adjourn.
Second that motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Good night, folks.
Night.